Hi guys, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the channel. My name is Niladri Mukherjee and I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I practice here in Guelph, Ontario. I'm recording this video on a Saturday evening from a very cold, chilly Guelph. The wind is blowing at 31 kilometers per hour. It's a very dark, cloudy kind of a day, and hence I thought to, just talk about a topic for which I've been thinking actually to talk for a very long time. And if you have obviously seen the title of the topic, and that is talking about the visitor visa to Canada. And this time I'm going to talk particularly about the clients that are coming from the Philippines for Filipinos, and particularly on the rejection aspect of it, because if you have applied for a visa, if you have got the visa, then your problem is solved, right? But what if you didn't get the visa? And hence I thought to talk about something, or rather share something from my experience of working with the clients from Filipinos, or the amount of queries that I get every single day from the from my clients from the Philippines. Now, we have to understand is that there are some countries in the world from where most number of people, or rather more number of people, are applying visas to Canada every single day. And when I talk about visas, I mean the temporary visas, right? Tourist visa, work permit, study permit, and all those kind of stuff. The number one country, in my opinion, is India, followed by maybe China or Philippines, right? They're like either China or Philippines, or could be China, could actually overtake India, followed by India or Philippines. The point is the number of visa applications that come from the country of Philippines is very, very high, and so is the number of rejection. Now I don't know how many emails a day, at least 10 to 15 emails a day from my prospective clients, I would say, from the Philippines. And I see a pattern when it comes to the rejection, right? And hence I thought to make a video to let all of you know that why is this thing really happening, again from my opinion, based on my experience. Okay, the number of Filipino turned Canadians is very, very high, right? What I mean by that is the number of Filipino immigrants in this country are very, very high, right? Which also means that when somebody is coming to Canada from the Philippines, most likely I would say more than 40 to 50% of the times, the person is already having a close relative that is residing in Canada. Maybe a brother, maybe a sister, maybe a cousin, maybe an uncle or aunt. There is always that close relative or relative factor that is already residing in Canada, and hence the person sort of gets an invitation letter. And also, I think that more and more number of Filipinos are quite habituated to work with a local consultant at first, which is perfectly all right, which is understandable, because the touch and look and feel factor is very, very important when it comes to something like a visa or like anything of that nature. So it is a human tendency to end up working with a local consultant, even knowing the fact that those guys may not be licensed enough, those guys may not know everything about visas and immigration to Canada. But the point is, from my experience, what I see is that more and more number of Filipinos prefer to work with their local consultants or their local visa consultant or whatever you call them, right? Now, these guys, from my experience, I see a general pattern as to how they do the applications. Whenever they see that there is a close relative or a close sort of relations living in Canada, they have a tendency to ask for the invitation letter from that person, right? So the way I see the applications happening is this: here is a list of document which you have to provide. So that's part one. Secondly, here is an invitation letter that your relative needs to send it to you, saying that that particular relative or those particular relatives are going to take care of your food, your living expenses, maybe while you're in Canada, your accommodation or shelter or and whatnot. And most likely they will ask you to notarize the letter as well. So a set of documents and an invitation letter gets uploaded to the IRCC portal. And obviously, most likely these guys are not licensed, so they cannot really apply through their RCIC portal. It just gets uploaded into the new RCIC portal. And more often than not, you end up getting a rejection. Now, this may not be, obviously, everything varies from one case to the another. This may not be a general situation that is applicable to everybody, but at least that is what I see for most number of clients. In this particular video, what I'm going to suggest, or rather request you to introspect you on a very particular, on a very specific aspect, and that is the invitation letter, right? So what is an invitation letter? For example, if you have somebody that is already living in Canada, that might be your brother, sister, maybe your real brother or real sister, or anybody else that knows you, and you sort of ask them, what, I'm coming to Canada. Could you really send me an invitation letter? The person says yes. The person writes an invitation letter saying that I'm going to take care of your food, your expenses, and whatever, and gets the letter notarized and send it to you. That is traditionally being considered as an invitation letter. What you have to understand is that that invitation letter really creates a lot of problem for you, and I will tell you why. First and foremost, it is very important for you to understand is that that invitation letter, even if the person gets the letter notarized saying and writes on the letter that I'm going to take care of your food, I'm going to take care of your accommodation, your living expenses while you're in Canada, your sightseeing expenses, or whatever, that is not a legal document. Okay, what I meant by that is if the person doesn't do whatever the person is saying will do, you cannot really go to court and sue the person, right? So an application really gets approved on your merit, on your quantitative factors as well as the qualitative factors. It's not on the basis of that invitation letter. That invitation letter, in my opinion, can add value maximum to the extent of maybe 5 to 10%, right? But it does not mean that you will not ask for the invitation letter. You may ask for the invitation letter. You may not even ask for the invitation letter. But whenever you ask for the invitation letter, what you have to understand is that if you have a close relative that is living in Canada, and the person is sending you an invitation letter saying that they will take care of all those things, an immigration officer reviews the application from the balance of probabilities perspective. Now, the balance of probabilities, though is a legal term, is sort of very much understood in the general context as well. What I meant by that is when you see the visa gets rejected under section 179 subsection B, and the officer doesn't believe that you will leave Canada at the end of your stay, maybe due to whatever reason, like insufficient fund, purpose of visit, you name it, like those are just the standard templates. But the point is, at that point in time, the officer reviewed the application from the perspective of balance of probabilities and found that your balance, on the basis of the balance of probabilities, the push factor is a little less than the pull factor, right? And what I mean by that is, on the balance of probabilities, the officer doesn't believe that you will leave Canada. So your probability of leaving Canada is actually less than your probability of staying back in Canada. And the primary conclusion is being drawn on the basis of that invitation letter, wherein your brother or sister or anybody else is saying that, what, I'll take care of everything. So what if you get so much comfortable with that person that you do not want to leave? Right? That is a kind of psychology that goes into the mind. So whenever you're providing something like a letter of invitation, you must have to understand that your submission letter, well, if you're not working with an RCIC, then there will not be any submission letter. It may just be a letter of explanation if you're working on your own. Either the submission letter or the letter of explanation, those two things are very, very different. We'll have to explain your purpose of visit or whatever that you think should be explained in a very, very, very explicit and legal way. I cannot stress enough on the term that legal way is that I see, I don't know how many letter of explanation a day, and those are not the letter of explanation that a government would accept, right? A letter of explanation or a submission letter, whatever you call it, is your place, is your forum to let the government of Canada know as to why they should believe that on the basis of balance of probabilities, you will leave Canada rather than you will stay back in Canada, or you will not leave Canada. So my whole purpose of this exercise of this video is to tell you is that do not take a letter of invitation blindfoldedly. It may be a good idea, it may not be a good idea to letter of explanation to take the invitation letter, but at the same time you have to understand is that if you take a letter of invitation, the onus lies on you or your consultant or like whomsoever you end up working with to make sure to prepare a that much strong submission letter to ensure that the letter of invite is being substantiated with sufficient explanations that goes in the form of your explanation letter. And this is really not true only in case of Philippines. I cannot stress the number of clients that get refused from India just on the very basis, just on this very basis. They get a letter of invite from any of their close relatives thinking that, well, I'm just visiting Canada. I have no intention to stay back in Canada. I have a close relative, maybe my brother or maybe my sister. If the person is inviting me, what is the problem? That is the problem, that if the person is inviting you, what is on the scale of balance of probabilities that you will go back? Yeah, because what you have to understand is this: when you move to a sort of a developing country to a developed country, obviously you will see almost everything better than what you are usually habituated to see in your home country. And hence the officers think it from the perspective of why the person would go back, right? And which is exactly why there is a concept of visa, which is exactly why you have to apply for a visa to come to the country. But while you apply for the visa, these are some fundamental principles or fundamental, I would say, aspects that you have to keep in mind. This is true for Philippines, this is true for India, this is very true. I would not say very true. This is true for some extent. For clients of Pakistan, this is true for the people that are coming from all the Middle Eastern countries. But I think, again, from my personal experience, the number is so very high in the Philippines. For the Filipinos that I thought of making this video. I get a lot of questions from Filipinos every single day. A lot of Filipino clients come in the consultation in spite of the very weird time zone difference that we have. And that is the single most problem that I see. And also, what you have to understand is that applying for a visitor visa to Canada these days is not easy. It has never been easy. But in these days, when these guys are in backlog, I can tell you is that the number of rejections would be far outweigh the number of acceptance, because frankly speaking, the number of well-made applications are that very low as compared to number of not well-made applications when it comes to the at least the temporary visa applications for Canada, and specifically the visit visas for at least from some countries is what I see. So if you're from Philippines or if you're from any other country, if you have if your visa got rejected citing any of the reasons that I've just mentioned, now you know maybe the real crux of the problem. And of course, you can apply for your GCMS notes, you can apply for your case notes. But hey, realistically speaking, currently, as on today, I'm making the video, the processing time for a GCMS note or a case note is over 3 months. So really, people really do not have that much amount of time to really wait for 3 months, get the note, infer the note, assess the note, and then make the application. So I think it's a good idea, good practice to apply for the note first and then reapply. But frankly speaking, for the last couple of applications, I have done even without applying the notes, and they just work fine because I go through the case in detail, I understand the problem, and I only then do the reapplication part. Once you go through the documents, once you go through the previously submitted application, you sort of ask the clients, what have you submitted, who did the application, why did you not submit this, why did you submit this? You sort of get an idea of what the GCMS notes is going to be. So yeah, if you need my professional assistance, let me know. I'll be more than happy to assist. Our email ID is contact@nuvonation.ca. I hope you enjoy your Saturday evening and wish you a very pleasant weekend. I'll probably see you either tomorrow or day after. I will see. Bye now. Good night.